Be careful arguing with a fool, because from a distance, people can't tell who is who. What's up, guys? Welcome to Goals First. I'm your host, Plutus, and we have a great show for you today about not only how to win friends, influence people, but also how to deal with conflict and arguing. I'm going to dive into today, which is such a valuable skill, because when you get on the rise and you start making new friends, you start meeting new people, people are also going to challenge you. And I made a video previously where I got a lot of hate, where I said, make bullying great again, right? Of course, I didn't literally mean go bully people, but the triggered people had to say, oh my god, I can't believe you're telling people to go bully people. And it's like, no, I'm just saying in real life, people get bullied. And when you're bullied, you have two options. It either teaches you how to stand up for yourself because what you're doing is fine and you should stand up for yourself, or you're being bullied for something you're doing wrong and it corrects a behavior that socially you were wrong on. So it's a win-win when you look at it that way. It's either correcting a behavior that needs to be corrected, or it's going to teach you to stand up for yourself. But anyway, sometimes in conflict, you also don't want to get in conflict. You want to get out of it. So we're going to dive into that today. But I wanted to start out by recapping the last episode because I just threw so much in there. And I just want to give a short recap of it. Basically, it's from the book How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Some great tips I learned from there and my own experiences as well. So here's what we're going to say for gaining friends and making everyone that you meet love you, right? We've all met someone cool and we think we hit it off and then they just don't hit us up ever again. I don't want to ever, I experienced that too many times more than I can count, where I meet someone, I thought we hit it off and they just never hit me up again and they didn't like me and I was like, oh, why are people not liking me? So I really took the time to learn the skills to be likable and be the person that everyone meets you, they want to hit you up again, they always want to chill with you again. You can be that person. There's nothing stopping you. So here's the recap. First part was don't criticize, don't condemn, and don't complain. People don't want to be around someone. This is especially more like when you're employing people. If you're a leader, right? Leaders, whether you're a manager, you're the CEO, you're an owner, or if you're the leader of your friend group. Don't criticize, condemn, or complain, because people, we deep down are all children. We all don't like being told what to do. We told to go clean your room. No, I don't want to, right? So don't criticize, condemn, or complain. Instead, encourage. If you want someone to do something, encouragement. It goes so much further. Do your best to always avoid criticizing, condemning, and complaining. Now, what you also want to do is give honest and sincere feedback, okay? So people know what they're doing. Even if sometimes people don't fully know. When you enter a new industry, you enter a new business, you enter a new anything. Maybe you're learning guitar. Maybe you're learning opera singing. Maybe you're learning digital marketing. At first, you're a fool. Okay? But you don't criticize, condemn, or complain to people that are new to things. They're learning. Give honest and sincere feedback. So that can be, I think you have a lot of potential with this, but I think you can work on this. And give honest and sincere appreciation. I really like how hard you're trying. It means everything to me that you're putting effort into hanging out with me, maybe making a new friend. I give honest and sincere appreciation. I have a buddy who's good at guitar. I say to him, bro, you're awesome. You got to keep playing for people. You're great. I've friends who are great in digital marketing. I'll recommend them to everybody. And I'll tell them, you're killing it. The way you wake up at 6 a.m. to work out and then be the first one in the office, I respect that. So the more honest and sincere appreciation you can give, the more people are going to gravitate around you because they have that good feeling like, oh, I'm with this guy. He's always honest and sincere and, he's appreciating me. And another thing you want to do is be a good listener, right? But more than being a listener, you want to encourage others to talk about their passions. And you want to ask questions. So, maybe you meet a hot girl at a party and she's like, oh, I'm a marine biology major, right? And I say, that's interesting. That's cool. That's really cool, right? Which every asshole, every Chad in the frat's like, you're a bio, whatever. Marine biology major, that's super dope. I've always been interested in that. No. Be the guy that stands out and be like, so what do you do with that? What specifically type of job would you want with that degree? What do you do day to day with that degree? What does the job involve? Do you swim with manatees? Do you swim with dolphins? Do you swim with mermaids? When someone tells you what they're doing, be genuinely interested and ask questions. And it does two things. One, this person, whether it's a girl you're trying to win over, or a friend you want to win over, someone who thinks cool, they'll associate you with someone who's really interested in them. And we all love being around someone who's interested in us. So you want to do that. Ask honest, sincere questions. Now, if you're trying to win someone over to your way of thinking, right? You want them to do what you want to do. Maybe you want to go, you want to leave the party and go somewhere else. Maybe you want to take your girl on a date. Maybe you are leading a marketing team and you want your people to make more cold calls. When you fish, you dangle what the fish likes, not what you like, right? So when you're dealing with somebody and you want to win them over to your way of thinking, you say, I want to win this person over to my way of thinking. You do not dangle the fish food that you like, right? It's like fishing. You dangle what they like. And the example I gave, which is the best example I could possibly think of, is when I had a commission-based business and my employees were getting commission, they were not making as much as me, not commission-wise, but sales-wise. I said, look, if you talk to every customer, everyone that walks by, who are our customers, more than they're come over to us, therefore your sales can go up just by you talking to everybody. And I showed them I dangled what they wanted. They wanted more money. They wanted to make more money by the end of the day. So what did I dangle? More money. I said, look, if you talk to everyone who walks by and tell them the special we have today, 2 cell phone chargers for $10, whatever the hell it was, 2 pillows for $30, we all kinds of items, you're going to have more sales and you're going to make more money. So by me talking in terms of what they wanted, I got my way. They talked to way more customers, I benefited, and they benefited because they made more money and so did I. So let's put this in practical terms. You want to go on a date. Dangle the idea of a fun date to the girl. Hey, let's go on an adventure. Let's go to an amusement park. Let's go skiing. Let's go hiking on a trail, right? So now rather than just thinking of hanging out with you, they have this idea in their head of they're going to go do this really fun activity. So you're dangling the idea, the concept of fun. It works. Be a good listener. Encourage others to talk about their passions. I think I kind of went over that. Compliment people on things they control. This is one of the biggest screw-ups that guys make, especially guys. So, you go to a party and every guy compliments girls. You're so hot. Your butt is so fat. No, the girl was born that way with her genetics. Women hate being complimented on things they can't help, such as their good looks or their butt, because every guy is telling them they're hot. And of course they'll be like, oh, am I? Right? But they know they're hot because every guy is telling them, oh, you're so sexy. You're so, damn, girl, you bad as fuck, girl. Oh, you bad, girl, right? Every guy's saying that. So be the one that compliments something they control. Wow, I love how you dyed your hair. Your outfit, you have a sense of style, girl. And it works the same for guys. I'm not trying to say like you're trying to, you're gay, you don't want to go over in that way. I mean, like, if you want to befriend the coolest guy at a party or just want to befriend some dude, compliment them, bro. You got style, my man, right? If you compliment people, find anything. Find random shit to compliment. People will love you. You're going to find that people want to be around you when you're always complimenting them. I love your haircut. I love your shoes. I love your sense of style. But remember, compliment things that people control, not things that they're born with, like being good looking. No one cares. Stop complimenting girls telling them they're hot. They don't give a shit. They know. I promise. And I talked about this a lot in my previous video. The best thing you can do to get amazing at talking to random people, you're going to be a king at it, is something called cashier smiles. I created this. Go to supermarkets, get your groceries, and find the hottest cashier. If there's no hot female cashiers, then find one that's not hot. And if there's no females at a store, just choose the goddamn cashier. Learn to make cashiers smile, and especially if they're a cute girl, make them giggle and laugh, and just talk to them. You can say anything. Be like, yo, there was a jar of mayonnaise back there, and I saw somebody almost slip on it, right? Or if something cool happened your day, just tell them, right? These cashiers, they're so bored. Everyone, how you doing today, sir? I'm good. How about you? Good. And then it's like dead ass silent while they do groceries for 6 hours. They're bored. They're waiting for someone to come over and talk to them, have a real conversation. How's it going today? Do you like working here? Do you enjoy it? What's the craziest thing that happened in your day? If you can learn to always make cashiers smile, talking to people, and whether it's trying to get new girls in your life, trying to get hot girls, or making new friends, networking, winning over the coolest dude in the party, will come natural to you because you have gained the skill of making a cashier smile. So like by comparison at a social event, it will be easy peasy. And that's really the summation of last episode. So I'm going to move on now to transitioning to dealing with conflict and arguments. Because now let's say you gain all this skill of being really good socially and you win people over, people want to be your friends because you're complimenting them. You're giving major compliments. You're talking about what they want to talk about. You're asking questions. You're giving them sincere appreciation for what they're doing. And you're also winning them over to your way of thinking because you're not criticizing, condemning, or complaining. You're only pointing out what they do good, right? So now you have all this, but now there's going to be conflict in your life. So how do you deal with conflict? So this is actually, I'm going to start with a quote by Mark Twain, right? One of the greatest American writers of all time, Mark Twain. I hope you know who he is. He says, be careful. This quote's gonna like kind of start the whole ball rolling here. Be careful arguing with a fool, because from a distance people can't tell who is who. I repeat, be careful arguing with a fool, because from a distance people can't tell who is who. So what does this mean? I'm going to give an example. Politics, right? And I'm not going to get into my view because my view doesn't really matter here. But let's assume you're arguing a political topic and you know the other side is just a retarded idea, right? Like what they're saying is just idiotic. And usually they're just misinformed. They don't mean it. They're not stupid. They're misinformed. But if you guys get in a yelling match about politics, from a distance, what people see is just two idiots arguing about politics. One guy saying healthcare should be free, and the other guy saying, dude, are you an idiot? Free healthcare literally doesn't exist. It's just taxpayer dollars being redistributed. And they both look stupid because one guy's saying screw free healthcare because he looks like an asshole, and the other guy's saying everything should be free, so he looks stupid. So be careful. Arguing from a distance, you can't tell who's the fool. Or be careful arguing with the fool because from a distance you can't tell who's who, right? So avoid these arguments, and instead what you want to do is what I talked about earlier. Ask the person how they got to their view. Be like, hey man, how did you get that view? You believe in free healthcare? That's really interesting. What makes you think that? Have you ever thought about the fact that that's really just the taxpayers being redistributed? You're fine with that? Okay, I respect that, right? So just be careful getting these traps where you're arguing and there's people watching you guys and you just look like an idiot. I'll give you a good example too. So when the pandemic first started, I had connections with the masks, the blue masks, right? So I had connections to wholesalers, and I started selling these blue masks, which I was doing a public service to the people, right? I was getting these masks to businesses that couldn't get them. And I had multiple people hit me up, and I'm not hating on you guys if you see this. You just didn't understand how things work. Hit me up and go, how dare you sell masks during a pandemic? How dare you take advantage of a pandemic, right? So I got caught in this stupid trap where I would argue with them, and we both looked stupid because they were playing the frame dominant asshole for taking advantage of the pandemic and selling masks. And the truth was, they just didn't understand how business works. Wholesalers buying blue masks created a demand where they were producing masks, so they produced more masks. If private businesses weren't buying masks for wholesale, they wouldn't be producing them in the factories, and there'd be less masks. So we were actually adding to the supply. This is like basic business. But, someone who's not a business major might not understand that, and they just think you're taking advantage of a pandemic, which wasn't the case. But that's the point. From a distance, we just look like two idiots arguing about masks, and I look like the fool because they had the foolish perspective of you're just taking advantage of a pandemic. And in reality, it's like, look, if wholesalers are buying masks to sell them, then manufacturers aren't going to produce them. So be careful of that trap. And Ben Franklin, right? Ben Franklin, who we all know, has a great quote about this as well. Ben Franklin said, if you argue and rankle and contradict, you may achieve a victory sometimes. I repeat, if you argue, rankle, and contradict, you may achieve a victory sometimes, but it will be an empty victory because you will never get your opponent's goodwill. So what does this mean? So if you're just going for the win, right? Rather than trying to really talk about it with the person, you guys do an argument or a debate and really trying to understand their point of view. If you're just trying to win, you might win. But now your opponent, you lost their goodwill because they think you're an asshole. You made me look stupid. And, maybe the person was stupid. But it's better to be the person who really has a conversation than to win an argument because you don't want to lose people's goodwill and that feeling of wanting to be around you. Because the way I am, I argue with my friends all the time, but they walk away feeling like, that was kind of fun. He engaged with me. He let me express my point of view first. He really understood my point of view. And once he understood my view, he then presented his view. And I don't really agree, but it was fair. Versus that asshole, I'm just angry. When people lose an argument, they just feel anger. That's all they're going to associate you with is the angry feeling. And it's true. Now, there's actually a cool thing in a newspaper called the Boston Transcript many, many years ago. It was this poem, and it got really famous, and it really shows this idea of, the attitude of, I'm right? When people say, I'm right, and I'm going to hold my ground no matter what. Don't have that attitude of, I'm right, so I'm not going to I'm going to hold my ground at all costs. So, here's the quote. It was a poem. Here lies the body of William J., who died maintaining his right of way. He was right, dead right, as he sped along, but now he's just dead, as if he were wrong. Right? So this is a story about a guy who was driving, he had the right of way, and he kept going, because he saw a car coming, he goes, I had the right of way, so I'm going to go anyway. And the car crashed into him and killed him, now he's dead. So, think about this analogy. Just because you're right, is it really worth it, just because you're right, to make a huge sacrifice? Sometimes, listen, I've been in positions where I made a huge sacrifice fighting for my integrity, but 99 out of 100% of the time, it's not worth it. It's not worth it, and just let the other person be, you be the bigger man and walk away and say, you know what, this person looks like an idiot, and it's okay. They look like an idiot. You know you're right, and it is what it is. You move forward. And it just, even when you're right, be the bigger man. It's not worth being hated. And especially the fact that it's not, sometimes it is, so save that, pick and choose your battles, essentially. Another thing you want to do to be more likable is save another person's face. So, I forget the exact story, but there's some story where, like, two guys are talking about, I don't know, it was like the dollar bill. And one guy was like, every dollar bill after this year has, I don't know, an Illuminati symbol on it. Something, I'm making it up. And basically, the story was went like this. The other guy knew he was wrong because the other guy worked in the industry and was positive. But they were at a table full of respected adults, respected people. So in the name of not making this guy hate him, he just said, I guess I was wrong. Sorry. And versus he could have gone on Google and said, look, dude, you're wrong. And embarrass the guy. But what's the value in a group setting of embarrassing somebody? Don't be the person to embarrass somebody. You can always pull them aside after and be like, look, man, I don't want to say anything in front of anybody, but I was right, and I'll show you why. But don't be the person to, I owned you, bro. Unless someone's really attacking you verbally, don't be the guy who owns somebody. Oh, I owned you. It's kind of useless. There's people are going to hate you, and I've been there. I've been the guy that people hated because I won the argument, I owned them, and now they go, I never want to see that guy again. It's not worth it. Be the bigger man. If you have to really prove you're right, do it in private. Don't own them in front of a group of people because people will hate you for it. Another thing I learned, this is from the 48 Laws of Power by Tom Green, I believe his name is. I might be butchering the name there. But anyway, never outshine the master. Never, you want to be liked, be loved, and people will always be around you, and you want to have high-value friends. If you want to have high-value friends, never outshine the master. Don't be the guy to showing them how you did better than them, okay? In the book, the 48 Laws of Power, they give this example of this guy who was the one man down below the king, and he threw the king this amazing party, and I think he got a statue made, and basically he did everything perfectly. And he used the town's monetary system to pay for the party. And the king got this guy thrown in jail for life for stealing the money that the king told him to go get and use for the party because this guy won up the king. He did everything so great and so much better, and he was bragging, right? He basically was the center of attention at this king's party. The king was like, fuck you, screw this guy. And the king literally got this guy thrown in jail. And then I think in the story, there was another guy who did something similar, and the king got him killed after. Lord Farquaad or something like that. I forget, I'm probably butchering. Isn't that from Shrek? Oh, my bad. But you get the point. The king had this guy killed because he one-upped him. Don't one-up people. Even the most confident alpha males. You think someone's the man, they're so confident, they're never going to feel insecure. Everyone gets insecurity. We all do. So don't never outshine the master. If you want to be around high-value people, let them always be the one that feels like they're superior. Just let them. They'll love you for it because they feel like they're the leader. And that's the way to keep high-value friends around you is by letting them be the master. It's true. And I've learned to just shut up. I've learned over time in these arguments and these conflicts, and this is back to arguments and conflict, to shut STFU, shut up, be the bigger man, and just learn how do they get to their thought. When your instinct is to argue and debate, pause and ask them questions to find out how they got to their conclusion, and you might be surprised. And they might even backtrack as you ask them questions. Maybe you can point out something. Like, let's say they're saying, I want free healthcare. Maybe you can point out, well, it's not free, right? Who do you think's paying for it? And they'll go, I guess taxpayers. So you go, so it wouldn't be free. It'd be just redistributed money to pay for taxpayers, or from taxpayers, rather. And they go, I never thought of it that way. You're right, it is. Asking questions and figuring out how they got to their conclusion will always do you better. Now, in transition here, I've been kind of going off memory, and I have some notes here, but this is my little handy-dandy notebook where I keep a lot of stuff. So, Buddha once said, hatred is never ended by hatred, but by love. And, just take it for what you want. What Buddha's saying, hatred's not ended by hatred. It's ended by love. So, I'm going to kind of not interpret that one too much, but here's what I'll say. A misunderstanding is never ended by an argument, right? But by a tact, diplomacy, conciliation, and a sympathetic desire to see the other person's other person's viewpoint, which is what I said before. Hatred, a misunderstanding, an argument, you need to truly try even if you're not going to agree with it, it's ended by understanding their point of view and giving them the chance to explain it. It's really true. If you want to keep a disagreement from, let's say you have a disagreement and you want to keep the disagreement from becoming an argument. First you want to do is welcome the disagreement. When two partners always agree on one thing, one of them is not necessary. If you guys agree on everything, one of you is not necessary because you're not evolving, you're not growing. And a partner can be like a friendship, a couple, but if you just agree on everything, you're probably a bunch of idiots or you're a liar, and neither's good. So first, you want to welcome disagreement and say, look, let's talk about it. And you want to always be with people that are open to disagreements and they're not going to freak out and get triggered by talking about things you disagree. Because in life, you're not going to disagree. So don't be around someone that's going to be too triggered to even talk about things they disagree on and hate you for it. Distrust your first instinct and impression. So your first instinct and impression is probably going to be this person's an idiot, right? Because usually today, arguments about Trump or politics, and whether you're a Republican, you're a Democrat, conservative, or liberal, the instinct's like, this other guy's an idiot. How can you possibly think that? Don't go with that first instinct. Give them a chance through questions to figure out how they got to the point of view and why. And maybe even if you disagree, there's actually an intelligent reason why they got to that point of view. Control your temper. The person that loses their temper, you lost. If you're arguing and you lose your temper, you lost because they triggered you. They made you into their bitch. They controlled your emotions. Don't get triggered. The second you lose your temper, you have lost this argument. They're in control and you're not in control. And you want to be in control, I promise you. So always stay calm, and if you're getting mad, 1, 2, 3. Deep breaths. It makes all the difference. Listen first. You're going to win the argument, or be more likely to win if you're the one to listen first rather than talk first. Because, number one, they feel heard, and you now know what points to counter because you listened first. It's true. Look for areas of agreement, right? So what you want to do, and I'll give the healthcare example again. Let's say you're supporting that healthcare should be private, and they're saying healthcare should be free. Private means that there's competition, and private businesses compete to make the healthcare cheaper. So you listen to them. You could actually look for areas you agree. So you could say, well, once you talk to them, hear their point of view, you go, well, I actually agree. We agree on the issue. Healthcare is way too expensive. It's like absurdly expensive. So we literally agree on the issue 100%. We disagree on how to solve it. And then you go, okay, so your goal is to make it more affordable, right? And you go, well, my point of view is actually through competition, and research backs this up. Competition, because the government is going to have less rules and regulations, will actually make the price cheaper per person than if we did privatized health, or if we did government healthcare where the government's paying for it. So yeah, it's free, but the quality will go down, and the government's paying paying for it with your tax dollars. So the cost per care is actually more expensive this way versus a private market competing. So you actually can explain that we agree on this stuff, and you can say, hey, look, my way will actually make it cheaper per person, right? So you want to listen first, find common ground, not get angry, and you want to be honest. You got to be honest. You can't be lying throughout this. I'm trying to think of an example. Don't misrepresent facts. Don't lie to win your point. You got to be honest. Say, listen, I respect your point of view, or I disagree with that. I don't think that makes sense, and this is why. Be honest. Don't be a liar if you're going to argue and win a disagreement. Promise to think over your opponent's ideas and study them carefully. This is really important because this is really the most important part of winning an argument. No one, not anyone, but almost no one's going to agree with you in the moment. No one's going to change their view in the moment. They're going to think about it, and then they'll come back or come to the realization they were wrong and you were right later on. So you be the one to lead this by saying, I promise to think about your views, to think about what you said, and I'll look into it. I promise to really consider my opponent's views and study them. And you say, I'm going to ponder it. And say, can you please do the same for me? And you don't have to agree with me right now, but just consider the argument I raised. And you're going to find out that people actually, you win an argument after the argument. That's the funny thing. Because people want to save face, so they're not going to say you're right in the heat of the moment. They're going to say you're right, or they're never going to say you're right, but they're going to remember, my view of free healthcare has changed forever because I never thought of it that way. So just you give the goodwill that you're going to ponder their argument in your free time later on and study their argument, and say you request they do the same, and you're going to see very different results than how it goes when you just expect them to admit you're right in the heat of the moment, which obviously never happens. It just doesn't. Now, thank them. Seriously, thank your opponent in an argument for debating, you say, listen, I want to thank you for like explaining your point of view. I never really understood your point of view, and I don't really agree with it, but thank you for explaining it, and thank you for engaging with me. Thank you for telling me. This is a really stimulating argument. This is a really stimulating debate. I really enjoyed it. When you thank them, they feel like they offered you information, and they'll be like, huh, yeah, right? We all like being thanked. So thank them after this debate happens. And postpone action. Give both sides time to think through the problems, which is a reiteration of what I said before. But you can say, listen, I want to postpone, this argument to recover it another time, but I want to give you time to think about it. This is what I said before. Their opinions can change after the fact, so you can always say, listen, we don't have to like prove this right now. We each present an argument. We can talk about it another time. I really, and that's when you said, I really appreciate you talking to me. And you'll see results, I promise you. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. My name is Plutus. Goals First is available on all podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, but we need to grow. So if you got any value from this, but more importantly, share with a friend. Subscribe on the podcast places, but share with a friend and get one friend to subscribe.